I think it's important to talk about how things are in the world today, and what if things go south, and you go to the store and there's no food in there. Now, just recently, meaning in 2021, 22, remember the shortages of toilet paper and all those kind of things? Well, it can even get a lot worse than that. And don't think that it won't, because we're America and it can't happen. It did happen in the 30s. I remember my father telling me about how in the 30s, the way it was, and he lived through that. They lived kind of on a farm, a small farm, and he said that they couldn't go to town and buy clothes and things like that. They didn't have any money to do that thing, because nobody had any money then. But they could grow their own food, and they never went hungry. But people out in the cities kind of did. If you remember seeing all the videos, the historical videos of that time, there were soup lines and food lines and things like that, and people begging for work with sandwich signs, we'll work for anything, and those kinds of things. So there was massive unemployment, but yet that didn't happen in the countryside where people had little farms. Because if you live in the cities, or if you don't know how to grow food at all, that's a serious problem that you really need to address. Because not knowing how to grow food at all could make a big difference on how well things are going for you. Now, you don't need to have a farm necessarily to grow a lot of food. You can grow a surprising amount of food on a little plot, that's a regular quarter-acre lot that most of us have, that kind of live in the suburban area. Now, what I want to kind of do here is show you here what I've got, this little greenhouse, and it's not that big. It'd easily fit in anybody's backyard, and it's amazing how much food you can grow in something like this. Now, you don't have to have a greenhouse per se, because the reason I have this greenhouse is I live a little bit up in an area where we have a lot of wildlife, and I was having problems with planting a garden and then coming out and finding it all eaten up. And it took me a little while to figure out it was the wildlife, and they were coming by, and as soon as the sprouts came up, they would eat everything. And so I had to have some kind of a defense to keep the wildlife out of there. That would be deer and raccoons and things like that. They just love to eat sprouts, little sprouts coming up. So a fence wouldn't really work, because they can climb those. So that's why I have a greenhouse, is because this can keep them out of your garden quite well. And also, the added benefit I've found is that it extends your growing season a lot. Now, what I've got here is a whole bunch of little grow beds, and this is just full of regular soil, nothing special about it. But you see something like this, it's amazing just how much food this can produce. And something like that can easily fit into a space like this. Now, this is a greenhouse I built a long time ago, and it's 24 feet by 8 feet. Now let's go on inside here and have a look at it. And as you can see, I've got this set up for kind of an aquaponic environment, but those little grow bed tubs I showed you just a minute ago, along here you could easily fit 12 of them, and you could put another 12 along here. This could easily fit 20 or 24 of those kind of grow beds, and you could grow a tremendous amount of food. And let me give you an example of that here. Now, last year I planted beets in 4 of these grow beds, and they all turned out to be about this size when I harvested them. Now, you add up how many beets I had all together, there was about 80 or 90 beets, something like that. And if you get 80 or 90 beets that are all this size, you can imagine how many I actually had. Now turning around, I planted carrots in the other 4 containers on this side, and I didn't do a very good job of it. I wasn't sure if they'd even grow, and I just had a bunch of leftover seeds, so I threw them in there late in the season just to see how they would do. And actually what happened was it turned out quite well, in spite of the fact that I did a very poor job of it. And here's the harvest. I canned all of the carrots that we had, and they were all very small, but there's 16 jars here, and that's quite a lot. And if we had done the same with the beets, I'm sure there'd be a lot more jars than that. And here are those same grow beds right now. You can see that some of the carrots, I left a lot of them in there, the little ones, and some of them are actually trying to come back up again. But anyway, there's the 4 grow beds there, and that's where those jars came from, those 16 jars. Now you can see over here, these are the grow beds where I had these beets planted. And this one grow bed, I haven't taken all of the beets out of there yet. I just harvested a few of those. But as you can see, with the 4 grow beds, I had a lot of beets, about 80 or 90 beets out of those. So that was quite a harvest. So if there's anything I can leave you with here in this video, it would be the point that you don't need a lot of space to grow a lot of food. It's just how you do it, and how well you tend to it. And just a small greenhouse like this, if you do it properly and you tend to it properly, you could probably grow enough food to feed your whole family if you want to, probably year round, especially if you preserve it and put it up, can it. If you have a little basement place where you can use it as kind of a makeshift root cellar, you'd be amazed at how much food you can actually grow and kind of live off of it. Now this doesn't take a lot of time or a lot of effort. It can be just kind of like a hobby. But what more productive hobby could there be than growing your own food?